Hello YouTube, what is up? This is Mark bringing you another video, and today I'm bringing you a new series called Critical Ops Gaming Guides. And in this series we are basically going to be explaining all parts of the game, anywhere from maps to movement to guns. And today we're going to start out with the AK-47, one of the most popular guns in the games. This is going to be a tutorial on how to use it, some tips and tricks, and how to conquer it as well. So without further ado, let's just get right into the video. So most of you already know how the AK-47 works, but we're going to go over a quick overview of the gun. First of all, the gun has 30 rounds in each magazine and 90 in the reserve for the gun, making it a total of 120 bullets within the gun. The gun costs $2,700, making it the third cheapest assault rifle in the game behind the SA-58 and the M4. Since the AK-47 is such a widely used gun across multiple games, we're really going to focus on critical ops only, and we're going to start with the damage of the gun. First of all, we're going to go through the unarmored section. Within the legs, if you shoot at an unarmored opponent, it will do 30 damage. Within the arms, if you shoot at an unarmored opponent, it will do 38. If you shoot at the abdomen of an unarmored opponent, it will do 50. If you shoot at the chest of an unarmored opponent, it will do 44. And if you shoot at the head of an unarmored or armored opponent, it will do 120 damage. So you definitely want to aim for the abdomen because that's where it does the most damage. However, if you can get those headshots, those one taps, that is where you want to aim as well. For the armored opponents, it's the same damage for the legs, 30 damage to the legs. However, for the arms, it does 31 damage to the arms instead of 38. For the abdomen, it does 41 damage for an armored opponent instead of 50, and for the chest it does 36 damage instead of 44 damage. So definitely it is worth to have your armor on against an AK-47, and if you are using an AK-47, still definitely keep that armor on because you don't want to have that aim punch against unarmored opponents. So a lot of you might be asking, what is the recoil pattern of the gun? Well, the AK-47 has one of the hardest, I guess, recoil patterns to learn, just because it is a pretty large recoil pattern, should I say. It is not tight, as a matter of fact, and it is a little bit difficult to control, but the gist of it is that the recoil pattern, it goes up, to the right, to the left, and then it keeps going right and left until you run out of bullets. So essentially it kind of makes like a whirlwind type thing where it goes up and then up and to the right and then up and to the left slightly and then to the right and to the left. So it compares to other guns. While it is not the highest recoil of any gun, it does have a decent amount of recoil, and recently with some of the updates this has changed quite a bit, but you guys can see on the screen how the gun has for recoil. And with that being said, there are lots of ways to combat that recoil. I will be making some tips and tricks videos later on how to combat it, but one of the best ways is to literally just do the opposite of what the recoil pattern is. So since it goes up, to the right, to the left, to the right, and to the left again, you should just go down, to the left, to the right, to the left, and then to the right to counter out all these movements. So if the recoil is going up, you should go down. And the thing with the AK-47 also is that within the first 10 bullets, the spray almost generally only goes up and doesn't go anywhere horizontally. So after the first 10 bullets, to compensate for that, you can crouch down below, and that's why you see so many pros always crouching when they peek and spraying with the AK-47. In terms of the rounds per minute or the bullets per second, it takes around 3 seconds to empty a clip of 30 bullets, and this means that the bullets per second is about 10 bullets. You'll shoot 10 bullets every second you fire the AK-47, which means that there's an RPM of about 600 within the AK-47. In terms of the damage per second, assuming you hit all 10 bullets in 1 second to the chest, the AK-47 will have a damage per second of 440 against unarmored targets and 360 against armored targets. This is more than enough to kill 3 players. However, it is highly unlikely that you hit all 10 bullets on all 3 players, given its high recoil and spray transferability. If you guys don't know what spray transferability is the ability for you to transfer your spray on from one opponent to the next. It is something that a lot of pros are really good at, but it is really hard to master because you have to really understand the spray of the gun and also understand within how many bullets you've shot where the spray will be. So this is something that is very high level and will definitely take a long time to master, but if you can master spray transferability, that means you don't have to stop shooting in the middle of your spray. If you see multiple players, you can just keep shooting and you know how to compensate for the spray at the AK-47. In terms of armor penetration, the AK-47 has about 80% armor penetration, which stacks up quite well against some of the other guns within the categories, the AK-47 making it one of the best guns within the assault rifle, and also very highly touted because of its one-shot headshot. The reload time for the AK-47 is about 3.1 seconds. It's a little bit on the higher side, as you've seen other guns as well have a little bit lower reload rate, but this is focused on the AK-47 right now. So with 3 seconds, it gives you ample time to go back, retreat, and then take cover as well to go peek out after you're done reloading. After multiple samples with the draw time, we figured out that the AK-47 averages around 1.19 seconds for the draw speed, which means that if you tap the knife or you have another weapon equipped to draw out the AK-47, it will take about 1.19 seconds. This is on the shorter side of things, whereas one of the guns that has the longest draw times would be the AUG, the AUG, or the sniper rifle. Those guns take very long to load and don't allow you to shoot for at least 2 to 3 seconds before you actually pull the gun out. In terms of movement speed, I'm just going to play a few clips here on how fast the gun moves. We just did a sample of the clips so that you can see it is pretty uniform, and we compared it to the XD45 as well to the butterfly knife. Hope you enjoyed some of the statistics with the AK-47. Those are kind of just overall statistics with the gun, and we're going to go over now some of the pros and cons with the gun. So one of the biggest pros with the AK-47 is its one-shot headshot. You see lots of players and pros that use this within matches, within scrims, within tournaments. A lot of players that make highlights with it, these one-tap highlights, and it's not for no reason. The AK-47 is a beast, and with that first shot accuracy, it is very easy to tap people. So the one-shot headshot is one of the staples of the AK-47 across all different types of games, so definitely make sure you're aiming for the head if you guys want to capitalize upon the greatness of the AK-47. Another one of its pros is its high damage for the gun in comparison to other guns. The AK-47 has a relatively high damage rating compared to its counterparts like the M4 and the SA-58. So the AK-47, because of its such high damage rating, makes it a very popular weapon for people to use on the attack or on the defense, because it is a very good weapon to stop attacks or to clear out bomb sites. Going off of the high damage, it's great for spraying down lots of opponents, so especially on the CT side, it has a standard 30 bullet clip, which means that you are able to hold angles and spray down lots of opponents going through a choke point if that is something that happens within your match. It can also be used at any distance if used correctly. With regards to that, we will be going over tips some later in the video, so definitely stay tuned for that. And it can also penetrate through thin walls, making it, because of it has high armor penetration, you can definitely spam boxes and certain walls within the game to make sure that you can get some kills. In terms of the overall cons, it has a pretty big recoil pattern that we mentioned earlier, and this may be hard for beginners of the game to understand just because it is a pretty complicated spray pattern. It has a pretty high amount of recoil, and it moves up and down and left and right quite a bit, so definitely make sure if you will want to use the AK, use it properly and try to master that spray pattern. It costs $2,700, which makes it $200 more than the M4, and you might be thinking, how is this a con? It is the third cheapest assault rifle, and yes, that is true, it is the third cheapest assault rifle. However, with the M4, you can spend that extra $200 to buy the flashbang with this, and this can actually make or break the round. If you guys don't know how to use flashbangs, I'll be making some of the videos later in the series, but definitely stay tuned for that. Flashbangs are a crucial part of the round and can make or break a round, because you can blind an enemy's team fully, or it can, you know, if you miss it, it will definitely lead to some spray downs on your team. It has a relatively mediocre draw speed. It's not super fast, but it's also not super slow. So this gun actually, the AK-47 is pretty mediocre within it. So I would say the con is that, you know, it's not super fast on the draw speed. It does have slower movement speed than other assault rifles just because of its large damage, and it is a kind of a bulky weapon in real life. However, it is not the slowest assault rifle. However, it is not the fastest. And one of the last cons about the AK-47 is that it is loud. It can be heard right across, basically across the map, and the fact that it is not silenced means that you can see the bullets sprayed through the smoke. So if you're trying to spray through the smoke, you can see those bullets, and you can easily be traced. If you're trying to kill someone on the other side of that smoke, they can definitely shoot back at you and kill you in return. So those are some pros and cons of the AK-47. Now we're going to give some tips for the gun. One of the biggest things you can do, or the biggest key to the AK-47, is to simply burst fire the weapon, which means firing about 3 to 6 shots at a time, or to tap fire far distance players, which can guarantee a critical damage or even a kill with that one-shot headshot. What this means is that at far ranges, you definitely don't want to be spraying down, because a lot of the times you'll see players, if they can have that spray down, they will go for those sprays at long ranges. However, it is not common that a lot of players have the spray pattern memorized or have it even mastered. So if you don't have that mastered, definitely go for those one taps at distance. It still does a lot of damage with the abdomen, like we said before. So definitely make sure you can get those one taps, or even aim for the headshot. That can guarantee a kill for sure. Spraying only at close or mid range is one of the best strategies with the gun. If you are spraying at long range and you don't have that spray mastered, it is not going to be good. However, at close range, if there's a lot of enemies up close, or if you're trying to clear many angles, it is really good for spamming corners and pre-firing angles, just because of its high clip rate and its actually decent rate of fire. One of the most popular strategies used by pro players when using this weapon involves crouching. When you crouch, it actually fires up, or it tightens up the firing, so basically the spread is lower, and it significantly increases the weapon's effectiveness because it also decreases your body size. This means that though you do move slower with the crouching, your body is shrunken on the enemy screen, and it allows for your recoil to decrease as well. And that's why we say to crouch after the first 10 bullets, because it mitigates the effect of the spray pattern. This is really effective within close ranges and medium ranges, because you can clear out angles very quickly, and spray pattern is not that big of a deal when it comes to close and medium range fights. And the last tip for the gun we have is to aim consistently at the enemy's head. When they're combined with the crouching and all the burst techniques that we mentioned before, it requires only about 2 to 4 shots to kill someone, just because it doesn't, if you can aim your shots, it will be very beneficial. If you aim at the legs, it's going to take the longest time to kill, and that might lead to your demise. So that's why you definitely want to aim for the abdomen or the chest, and even the head, because those do the most amount of damage. The best way to counter the AK-47 is to fight it at long ranges. If you have a sniper and you're holding an angle, that is a very good way to counter the AK-47, just because AK-47s jumping out don't really have a lot of room to work with, because they don't have a scope, and also if you're jumping out with the AK-47, your first shot is not going to be accurate. And so basically make sure you stay your distance away from the AK-47, because it is hard to counter, or at the short and close range. That's really it for me, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for listening. Hopefully this was informative for you all, and I hope it was good for you to watch. Let me know if you want anything else in the comments down below. What next gun, grenade, maps, whatever you want to see next, and any feedback for this series, I would love to listen to. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Take care and have a great one. Peace out, everybody.